Hey everyone, it's Synth Designer back again with another video. Today we're going to be discussing my song Before Dusk. This is a kind of a chillwave song, and we're going to go through a bunch of the processing, the sound design elements, and just have a lot of fun with it. To those of you who know chillwave, it's kind of that relaxed electronic music feel with a lot of filters and automation. It was really popular back in kind of the early 2010s. It's kind of a niche music, but it's kind of a derivative off of synthwave as well, which uses a lot of synths and kind of vintage style sounds, you could call them. Today, I'm going to be doing a lot of tutorials based around the Diva Synth. If you're not familiar with Diva, it's a really great synthesizer, and it has that classic analog feel that you just don't get from a lot of other VSTs like Serum, for example. It's really got its own unique characteristics, and we're going to go and dive deep into some of these presets here. I used a lot of different presets. Some of them I created myself. Others were kind of stock presets, so we're going to take a look at them. If you're new to the channel, please head over to synthdesigner.com where you'll find lots of great free presets. I don't have any Diva presets out yet, but probably at some point in the future I will. If you're a Serum user or you're a Vital user, please check out my preset packs, and you could download them absolutely free, no signups required. If you want to support me, you could send me a donation, or you could sign up for my Patreon page, where I give out 10 to 15 different Serum presets every month for only a couple bucks. But without further ado, let's get right into this video. So we're just going to go through this kind of methodically. I'm going to play you certain sections. We're going to look at what's going on. We're going to talk about the sound design elements and how things work within the song. Like I said, this is called Before Dusk. This is a song that I released on Spotify, so you could check it out in the description below. So let's start just by playing this kind of intro section, maybe the first 16 bars or so. Or actually, let's get into maybe the first 12 bars or so. Okay, so we did do the first 16 bars. So let's take a look at what we have here. Thing with chillwave is there's not a ton of different synths usually. If you have good synthesizers, you can often get away without layering too much. What you want to do more than anything is automate. And as you can see, the first synthesizer here has a ton of automation. So let's get into that pattern first and check out what it's all about. So as you can see, the thing with Diva is there's a lot going on if you're kind of not familiar with it. But like with any synthesizers, you have your envelopes here, your cutoffs, volumes, your waveforms, and a lot like a lot of traditional analog synthesizers, you'll only have kind of simple wave shapes to deal with here. And as you can see, we are dealing with only saw waves here. And they're kind of mixed together. You can see the volume is different on all of them here. The first two are very similar in scope here. The second one is a little bit different, has a different octave range. Then you can see here by the envelopes here. Let's just listen to how it sounds on its own. Now, the thing is, it's going to be a little bit processed. Let's take a look at the processing maybe real quick. As you can see here, I have Kickstart 2, which is creating a lot of that sidechain action here. Without it, it sounds pretty different. And then there's a lot of, you know, EQs here and compression limiting. A little bit of saturation here, especially towards the middle higher section. And then I have vinyl as well, which I like to use just for warping. So let's just keep the Kickstart 2 off for now and head back over to Diva. So as you can see, the cutoff is pretty low here, and that is about to open up as the song progresses, as you heard. Then the second envelope here is kind of giving that slower attack. As you can see here, if we change this up, or if we were to turn the attack down, so that envelope is really giving it that kind of classic kind of attack chord, if you will. And this is our main synth, so it has to have a good sound to it. The other thing it has is a chorus effect here, which gives a lot of nice depth to it. Really pretty plain without the chorus. Let's turn Kickstart back on. And let's just take a look at the automation that we have here. So a couple things that we should notice. The low cut here is primarily to do with the fact that a bass comes in. Bass comes in here after 8 bars. Before that, we want the entire spectrum filled out, and without any bass, it's kind of going to sound a little bit thin, so I decide to leave it in until the 8th bar. Once the bass comes in, then I take it out. Over here, we have the frequency, which you heard. You don't want to get too bright. I feel like the first synth in a Chillwave song should be kind of still in the background, and yes, it could open up a little bit, but not too much. Decay here. As the song progresses, I have a few spots that the decay changes up. At the beginning, not so much, but let's just take a look at the effect of that if we were to change the decay. So here's the decay here. So as you can see, it really has an effect on the sound. It's going to make it a lot less full, and in certain spots in the song, I kind of wanted just a bit of a pluckiness to it. And the same goes for the second envelope. If I'm being honest, I don't remember exactly which one I have automated, but they essentially do the same thing. I also have some vibrato going here. That adds some of that warp sound to it too, and then a little bit of white noise here. So there's a lot going on, but it's basically like your standard synthesizer. If you're not familiar with Diva, it's not too bad. It's just a matter of getting used to kind of how things work and where things are. So that's the first sound. Why don't we just focus in on this sound? As you can see, it has that nice warmth to it as it begins. That mid-side mix is also important. I kind of wanted to get a little bit more width as I go, so that opens things up, and I wanted to make room for other things as things come in, particularly with this accent synth. So let's head to pattern 10, maybe focus in on this. That big time sidechain action again. And this is really meant to complement synth 1 here. As you can hear, it's got a lot of higher frequencies and a lot of the lows cut out. Let's take a look at Diva again. It's called Beauty Pad. So it's got that super slow attack, you can see. So it really kind of I shouldn't say never, but it takes a while to reach that kind of proper sustained element there, or a sustained point. It's really a slow developing sound and is really meant to complement things. So let's take a look at it on the mix track. Called it Accent Synth. And again, we have the kickstart 2 here, some compression, some mid-side EQ, taking out some of the middle and bringing out the sides. And right here is a big thing. I should mention a lot of times I'll take out a lot of the highs in Chillwave and really reserve it to certain elements. Here, as you can see, it's really cut off at over 500 hertz here, just because that space is filled out here by the first synth and part of the bass as well. So we don't need any more additional lower end here. Otherwise, you could get really muddy real quick. So let's just go over here and take a look at how the bass comes in. And that is pattern 13. And the great thing is about Diva, there's a lot of different ways of setting this up. Through the presets, you can actually set things up through templates. But for now, we'll keep with this look. As you can see here, you can have multiple wavetables at the same time in certain sections. So in this section here, we have a triangle and a saw, and this one has just a saw. As you can see, it's actually a couple octaves down here, and this one is 1 octave down, as you can see by this tuning here. So a few other elements we should notice. This boost section here really boosts those low ends, and then the cutoff again is very low, and that is to make sure that we're only getting those lower frequencies. Again, you can hear that attack on both envelope 1 and 2. As you can see, it's blended in here. And then let's take a look at the processing real quick. Some Fab Filter Saturn here just for a little bit more drive. And again, I have cut off a lot of the highs here just because I want only that low end to come through. Let's play this section here. Let's just try it on its own. You can hear the kickstart compression here, but when it's played all together, you really don't hear it as much because the other elements are so pronounced. It kind of blends in nicely, I think. So let's move on here and move towards this next section here. So we're going to kick it off here and head up until this lead comes in. So right before that lead comes in, there's not going to be too much change, but there's a couple elements I want to talk about here. So let's kick it off. Okay, so I think one thing you can really notice is that second synth there really opening up, and as it opens up, it really kind of adds that brightness to the sound, whereas this first synth and the bass are filling out the lower end. We have this little ear candy here in pattern 11. Very simple. Sounds way different here without any sort of context, but just on its own. Nice panning back and forth that you can hear, and I do that a lot with Pancake 2. As you can hear, it's only on a 75% mix, but it's on a 1/8 note change, so it's really going quickly back and forth here. Aside from that, not too much other than some major reverb, obviously. And then over here we have this pattern 12 here that comes in, and you wouldn't think of it as an ARP, but that's what it actually is. Let's just play it again for context. And this is actually the only case where I use Serum here, and this is a preset on Chill Vibes Volume 1. I do a whole breakdown video of how I made this, but it really is an important part of this song and kind of drives it. As you can see, it has this strange wavetable here. And as you can hear, it's also got some major sidechain action, and that's from Kickstart 2, but even on its own, it's a kind of a strange sound. And that's to do a lot with the reverb being so high. It's very detuned still, but once you put the reverb this high along with the delay, it really kind of gives it that ethereal type of quality to it, along with the noise as well you can hear. So let's just listen to it on its own again. And that's just following the same chords that we have in pattern 10 and pattern 1 as well. So that's really all there is to it there, but it really adds a huge kind of different element to it. Let's play it in context real quick. It adds just like a bit of movement, but it's not standing out like your usual ARP. Your usual ARP will be kind of plucky. This just kind of blends all together nicely. Let's take a look at the drums real quick. I find that the key with Chillwave drums is usually just taking out a lot of the higher end. There's not much to it other than that. There's obviously the usual processing that you would put on drums, like your compression, limiting, saturation here and there, but I find that the key is getting rid of those high ends. So let's just listen in. And it's got that great groove to it, that kind of slow driving groove. And that is just a quick kind of change in velocity between the first and second hits, and that just continues for a few bars. The snare here, that real quick kind of, there's not much of a tail there. And then we have this little element, this wood block, I guess you could call it, and a very simple kind of kick. It's called Funk Ultra Clean. Probably got these off Splice somewhere, but not much to it. It's really not meant to be kind of in your face. It's kind of blending in mostly. Otherwise, let's just take a quick look at how I process them. You can see the snare is missing a lot of higher frequency information, and so is the hat. And once you take those out, it kind of gives it that Chillwave lo-fi feel. Okay, so why don't we move into this section here with the lead. Okay, so that's pattern 6 here, and it's got that nice brassy tone to it. Very simple lead, but I think it really does the job well. Let's take a listen. Again, we have the attack here that's up a little bit. Has nice chorus and a plate reverb on it. simple triangle here and a pulse wave. Kind of a square, maybe a pulse. Hard to say exactly. And it has this pulse width as well. Again, cutoff is pretty low. And it has actually a little bit of FM synthesis going here. So it's got a little bit of everything here going, and it's really adding to that sound, but that nice warmth again. Let's listen to Patron on its own. So it's really bringing out that kind of brassy tone here, and that's helped in part by that kind of slower attack. If you think of a brass sound, obviously there's that attack to it. It's not a straight, quick attack like a snare hit for something or something, right? Like that, right? So we wanted kind of something that cuts through the mix, and this I kept in a little bit more of that higher frequency information, but still, as you can see, I cut out a lot of it. And that's just because it's just not needed. The trademark of Chillwave is that you cut out a lot of those frequencies. Obviously, it's played in a higher octave, and that does the job of really cutting through that mix. As you can see here, I also have some OTT that really makes a difference in the sound. Just play it on and off. That really allows it to cut through the mix, I think. I have a little bit of saturation again. And then vinyl for that warping effect. So let's move into this section here. Okay, so let's talk about a few things that we heard here. So pattern number 8 here is, again, a nice kind of brassy sound, adding a little bit of dimension and kind of a difference there to what we heard before. A nice, really great preset here. Really fills out a ton of space here. And I used a little bit more sparingly. There's some great delay and reverb again here. As you can see, like a lot of the rest of the song, it relies on like a bit of an attack. And then the envelope is really what opens it up. Let's play it on its own. As you'll notice, this is actually just single notes, and listen to how kind of lush it still sounds. Helped a lot by Valhalla's Supermassive. It's great sound there, I think. And that kind of takes us into a section here where there's all of a sudden a lot of different automation techniques here, and with an introduction of one other synth. And I believe this is the last different synth I introduced in this song. So again, a super sidechained action here. As you can see, several oscillators here are on, some triangles, some saws, and again, a kind of a mid-level cutoff here. Let's play the pattern. Could hear that white noise coming through. And that super sidechain action again. So as you can see, it's kind of blending from one aspect to the other, and I introduce some higher frequencies with the ARP, as you can see here. Kind of opens things up. The bass continues here. And then I actually take the frequency information down off of synth 1. So it kind of all blends together, and it kind of opens up this bridge section without drums, which really is all about the automation. So you can see there's just various things going on, some width changes going, and this is to do with a sweep here. Meanwhile, the kind of lead cutoff changes as well, and this accent synth really changes as well. You can see the cutoff point moving downwards. Then after this kind of section here, we enter back into the close, and then that will be it. So let's just take a look at this end section. It's really meant just to kind of close off this song. There's nothing new introduced here, so we'll just finish off with this end section and then finish off the video. So, without introducing any new instruments, you can hear there's a lot of change because of the automation. That filter opening up in synth 1, drums coming back in here, a little bit of ear candy here and there. So the big takeaway, I think, is you should really focus on just getting some solid chords down, then creating kind of the sound that you want, kind of the vibe that you want, and then focus on your automation. That's the biggest thing with Chillwave. Once you get the sound you want, you can start layering things together, adding things together. But the biggest thing is you don't need to have tons and tons of layers, tons of different synths going. It's all about just getting that automation down and blending things together. That's at least how I put Chillwave songs together. You may not agree, you may think this is not very good, and that's fine. But this is really meant to kind of show you just some basic Chillwave techniques, how you could put things together, and really trying to show you that it's not too difficult when you kind of understand the principles of kind of automation and how things blend together. Think about textures, think about octaves, and then think about just making some basic sounds that sound cool together. And remember always to sidechain like crazy. And nothing's easier than Kickstart 2 for that. So anyway, let me know down in the comments if you like this video, if you want to see more like it, or let me know if you want me to break other things down in more detail. Keep an eye out for more Chillwave Diva focused videos. I really like using Diva. I'm going to be using it quite a bit in the future. So hopefully you'll get something out of this one and future videos as well. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.